Shri Ganeshaya Nama. Greetings to everybody world over, all our brothers and sisters across the globe. It's a green morning, green afternoon, and a green evening. Let's think positive, talk positive, live positive, and we hope you're taking care of your health, your family's health, your neighbor's health, your community's health, and you are trying to help the community as a Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam the best possible way world over. Ladies and gentlemen, today is a very special program, at least for me, in a very humble way, as a soldier who got transformed into education ecosystem. Sometime you get into education accidentally, incidentally, knowingly, willingly, circumstantially, whatever it is. So today I'm going to share a new journey with you because on 1st of February, our India's new budget is going to be presented. So the precursor to the budget, pre-discussion to the budget, because we are focused on education, educators, teachers, counselors, and irrespective what subject you are studying, it doesn't make a difference. World over, wherever you are, whether you're in arts or commerce or science or medical or non-medical, whatever is your career path, today is a very, very special session. We are privileged when we are preparing the global teachers from our chamber. Today is with the blessings of everybody. We have come a long way. Today is 1423rd webinar. 1422 webinars are already done in a very humble way during this pandemic. And I'm very happy to share that more than 12,000 people from the world over, my brothers and sisters, they have come, and I'm a humble learner. I wish to learn from everybody, and that's the way we all have to pick up the best of threads. Today, the great wisdom, the great soul, I've been thinking for quite some time, whom do I request to come and do a pre-budget discussion with us before the budget on 1st February 2022 is going to be presented by Nirmala Sitharamanji, the Honorable Finance Minister of India. And all the time, I just thought there's one gentleman to whom I have been seeing, watching, hearing, feeling, getting the fragrance of the education. And my heart goes to Professor P.B. Sharma ji, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Gurugram. He's also the past president of Association of Indian Universities. He's also the founder vice chancellor. When you talk about the Delhi Technical University, when you talk about how he spent 25 years, Delhi College of Engineering, converting it, developing it, nourishing it, chiseling it, bringing it to the present status and the level what we have got today, Delhi Technical University of Government of Delhi. Besides that, I was trying to gather the threads. The more and more I tried to know him, I learned he comes from a beautiful place in Madhya Pradesh called Vidisha. And I had traveled over there with the late Honorable Union External Affairs Minister, Sushma Swaraj. When I think about Ashok Pillar, when I think about Lord Ashoka and the King Ashoka and whatever you want to talk about, Vidisha goes with Buddhism, Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, and quite a bit which comes from there. Now, he basically has done his mechanical engineering, but besides that, his deep-rooted interest, his master's, PhD, upward journey, lot he has done in aeronautics, he has done in aero engineering, he has done in nanoscience, he has done in future technology, and besides that, when he talks about life sciences, and always he feels there should be a next technology, and that is life technology. We will talk to him, we'll discuss with him how the life should be, how the world should be. And ladies and gentlemen, as a good education soldier, he had gone all the way to University of Birmingham for a long duration. We will talk about that as well. And now at present, he is with the very prestigious university, that is Amity University, for almost about 7 to 8 years now. So today, great deliberation, great celebration, precursor to our budget, and where we take it deep into what kind of an education, how much education, what should be the packaging of education, what is the future of education, what is the necessity of education, research, innovation, creativity, collaboration, all that, how it has to be brought together. And particularly when we talk about new education policy, great thanks to Honorable Prime Minister of India and the entire Education Ministry that on 29th of July 2020, the new education policy 2020 given to all of us almost after a break of 34 years. It was long awaited. World over, people are looking forward towards this policy, complete implementation in the Indian education ecosystem, and a lot of inspiration is also going world over. We extend a very warm welcome, all my brothers and sisters across the globe, those are joining me, and I'm very happy that it's going to be late evening, but people are joining me from Australia and New Zealand also. It's early evening as far as Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, Philippines, Brunei is concerned. I'm grateful to all my brothers and sisters. It's early when we talk about Middle East, Central Asia, Mauritius, Seychelles, Africa. And of course, people have enjoyed their wonderful brunch. It's Sunday, so you have enjoyed in the entire European Union as well as in UK. So beautiful Bharat, South Asia, all our brothers and sisters, when pandemic was declared on 25th of March 2020 and complete lockdown, doctors, nurses, paramedical doing great job. And our chamber got into, why not we should do hand holding when we learned from UNESCO, 1.65 billion children being away from schools, colleges, universities, ITIs, polytechnics, skill centers. Why not we should be with the education ecosystem? Our chamber focuses on services sector because three components of the GDP, agriculture, manufacturing, and services. And when I look back, as I told you, either you come into education circumstantially or knowingly or willingly, or sometimes destiny brings you over there. I joined the armed forces way back in 1973, never thought I will become a part of service industry or I'll get into education, because you get your graduation in the Indian Army from, Indian Military Academy right over there when you're studying and getting all the things. But when I moved as India's first army officer on deputation to the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India, and given the vertical to set up India's first travel and tourism institute, my journey goes back along with my colleagues, friends, and my well-wishers and my seniors. I'm grateful to all of them. 1988 onward, a new journey started when the Indian Institute of Tourism and Travel Management was set up under Ministry of Tourism. I owe a lot to my defense forces also. I was called by the Adjutant General that time, and he told, what are you doing for the armed forces? I said, sir, give me 4 rooms. I'll set up your hotel management institute. In Bangalore, I still recall, way back in 1989, I was given just 4 rooms in the ASC center. And from there, the journey started. And today there's a full-fledged Army Institute of Hotel Management and Catering Technology in Bangalore. I'm grateful to Ashok Pradhanji. He was DG Tourism, Government of India. 10th October 1999, he gifted me with a Fiat Sienna car from the Ministry of Tourism, Government of India. And I traveled length and breadth of India, organizing All India Tourism Quiz Contest. We have drafted lots of programs from our chamber for the UGC, through the university, and all are into service industry, bachelor's and master degree programs. We are also proud of our brothers and sisters, Indian diaspora. 131 countries, you are doing wonderful. You are amazing. You're so creative. You're so vibrant. And 1994, when the chamber came into existence, in ICSI, we decided, let's bring India's first finishing school network for the service industry. And I'm so very happy, ladies and gentlemen, this finishing school is altogether different, where there's a music, dance, humor, fun, happiness, passion, stimulation, creativity, and collaboration. More than 52,000 youth have gone without spending single rupee, and 35,000 educators all through the finishing school network, where etiquettes, manners, gesture, body language, personality, communication, connecting human to human, and complete focus on there has to be an outcome of education. Today, what we talk about. So they are the part of global family. I'm grateful to Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, right from 2014 to 2018, 4 years. We worked very closely on 12 verticals of service industry. These are called 12 champion sectors. Niti Aayog also worked very hard. CEO gave wonderful inputs, and the joint secretary that time in Ministry of Commerce, along with the directors and everybody, quite a few of them are abroad. Quite a few of them have become the secretary in the Government of India. And Rita Teoti ji, she was at the helm of the affair as the secretary in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. 12 champion sectors. And finally, the Prime Minister gave the clearance, and 28th of February 2018, the dream got turned into reality. 12 champion sectors of services sector being given impetus and force and vision from the Ministry of Commerce. From there, we moved to Ministry of MSME, micro, small, and medium enterprise. We are thankful to everybody 3.5 years with the Ministry of MSME, because our vision was, if you're thinking about manufacturing sector, why not to give some opportunity to services sector? Future is services. During this pandemic, we all have realized what are the challenges. It's a services sector which has given so much to the entire universe. And we are grateful when we were working on 12 champion sectors with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. That time, Nirmala Sitharamanji was the Commerce and Industry Minister, now the Finance Minister. On 13th of May 2020, she gave the green signal that here onward, services sector will be at par with the manufacturing sector. Wow. But some interruption, 25th of March, complete lockdown, and we started with 3 buzzwords: making education relevant and complete lockdown. So we went across entire fraternity and ecosystem of entire education world over. And then comes the new education policy. Thanks to the Honorable Prime Minister of India, 29th of July 2020. We are working very closely with all the 37 sector skill councils. Phenomenal. They're doing wonderful job. We have done more than 100 webinars with the Media Entertainment Sector Skill Council, Wellness Sector Skill Council. Nowadays, we are doing with the MEPSC, where the trainers, master trainers, security, entrepreneurs, startups, and we are grateful to Dr. Nirmalji Singh Kalsi at the helm of the affairs as a chairman, National Council for Vocational Education and Training, giving so much of vision, giving so many valuable inputs to the entire country. So, ladies and gentlemen, our chamber is focused doing the hand-holding of teachers and youth. The only thing during the pandemic, what has happened is that whatever we were thinking to be implemented in 8 to 10 years, that has been done within these 2 years only, because quality, quantity, speed, technology, all these challenges when we take, because necessity is the mother of invention. The finishing school, which was brick and mortar from 1994 onward, has gone totally digital. Now it's an e-Gurukul service industry. It's a global wisdom confluence. No money to be taken from anybody. You need not to be directly in the education ecosystem. You may be a corporate, you may be in any field, but you might be holding something special which can be relevant to our children, our youth, our educator. Some pedagogy, some andragogy, some creativity you can give it to us, which we can bring in education ecosystem. This is the home page for our website. If you see it, the web portal shows service industry strategists and facilitator. And our focus is youth, a journey from finishing school to e-Gurukul in service industry. And strategy is education, services, exports from India. At present, IT and ITS, they are bringing more than 50% revenue in the services exports in India. We go viral early in the morning. We are organizing more than 7 to 8 webinars per day. We start from Australia, New Zealand. We come to ASEAN. We go to Middle East. We go to Central Asia. We go to Mauritius, Seychelles. We go to Africa. Thereafter, we reach to Canada, Europe, and we go to America. We go to Latin America. We come to beautiful Bharat and South Asia, all of us together. Because our chamber strongly believes education, skills, and micro, small, medium enterprise, they all got to work together. Tonight, because every Sunday evening, 8 p.m., we get you NRIs. Tonight, there is a very, very important deliberation, dental tourism, services exports. When we talk about dental tourism, your denture system, if you keep it intact till your last day, because when you smile, when you laugh, when you open the mouth, you tell the whole world how is your denture system. So we are going to get all the way from the United States, Dr. Tarun Sandhu, who will be talking about dental tourism. He is the founder and the CEO of the Tri-City Smiles Dentistry. And wonderful deliberation. Don't forget, join us at 8 p.m. And tomorrow, because maximum blow has come to tourism, maximum suffering has come to tourism. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. in the evening, you'll have a special session as a curtain raiser on the eve of the Indian Budget 2022. What are we doing for tourism? Tourism has suffered maximum. 5 crore people have suffered. Travel agents, tour operators, tourist transporter, tourist excursionists, anything you talk about, adventure tourism, rural tourism, wildlife tourism, nature tourism, beach tourism, inbound tourism, outbound tourism, excursion tourism, domestic tourism, everything has suffered. Along with the tourism is hospitality, and along with tourism and hospitality is your aviation. Tomorrow, don't forget, it's going to be 2 hours deliberation with Dr. Subhash Goyalji, the chairman of the Stick Travel Group. He's a legend of Indian tourism. I've been meeting him for last 30 years. What a wonderful depth he has got. Tomorrow we will be talking about services exports on tourism. This is your YouTube channel. Today's program is also going live for all of you on GS Motivator. And ladies and gentlemen, long time back, Napoleon Hill, he made a mention, whatever human mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Let's come together. Let's make education and skills relevant. What I have learned and picked up from Professor P.B. Sharma ji, that through education and skills, through innovative education, futuristic education, skills, MSME, films and tourism, entertainment, dance, music, wellness, teachers training, happiness, we can change the entire world and we can bring equity and equality. So it's a global confluence. Let's join hands and let's be together. These are some of the questions which were coming to our mind. We will take it on, and we, with these words, extend a very warm welcome. Join me in welcoming Professor P.B. Sharma ji, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Gurugram. We extend a very, very warm welcome. Sir, whenever I look at you, I remember Einstein. I always remember Einstein, your hairstyle, your natural hair, and I know they are natural, but you are God gifted. He has given the shape and he has given everything, and he has given you so much of wisdom. He has given you so many avenues and opportunities to serve the humanity through the education ecosystem. I would request you, kindly take on the floor. The globe is yours. Continents are yours. Countries are yours. Indian diaspora is yours. The world is yours. We wish to learn the best this morning, this afternoon, this evening from you. Hearty welcome, namaskar and pranam to you, sir.
Namaskar. First of all, I'm thankful to you, Dr. Gulshan Sarma ji, and also thankful to God Almighty for giving me this life and this day to connect to you on a topic so important. You have made a great statement, making education relevant, and that exactly should be the buzzword. It must be in front of us all the time, 24/7, every second, every minute, every hour, every day, and day after day in front of all educators around the world as well as here in India. It must also be in front of those young, inspired minds who come to universities and colleges. They must also understand that education has to be relevant. You do not venture today merely to go back to the age old tenets where we used to say Tam Soma Jyotirgamya is the object of education. That's fine. Enlightenment is absolutely necessary, but enlightenment alone is not enough. You got to be having tremendous amount of enthusiasm, interest, and inspiration to utilize the knowledge and connect to the current and future needs for which the knowledge is to be utilized, so that the education which you acquire in the colleges and universities as well as the school throughout your life should become relevant to create a world better than the world which we have inherited from our parents and from our forefathers. The very purpose of education, in my opinion, therefore, has to be reinstated. When National Education Policy 2020 was being prepared, I was the president of Association of Indian University, being the senior most vice chancellor. We took out time to meet the architects of NEP, apprise them that you are trying to attempt something which will chart not only the future of India, but perhaps the future of the world as far as education is concerned, because great opportunity is there to make education relevant, to ensure that education becomes, in true sense, a vehicle of transformation, not only of the economy of the nation, but of the people, of the societies, and the world in which we wish to live. Unfortunately, I must not hesitate to say that much of the NEP discussion took place when there was no pandemic, there was no COVID 19. And therefore, the architects of NEP perhaps never perhaps thought that we will be entering suddenly into a time where a totally renewed thinking would be required, the way we go about educating ourselves. Although I applied in my meeting to the chairman of the NEP at Bangalore when I met him, and I applied him about the prophecy that has been made by the management guru Peter Decker. When I became vice chancellor for the first time in 1999, the internet was just coming in. And in fact, we were beginning to utilize internet for great many services. That time, the prophecy coming from Professor Peter Decker, the father of modern management, the guru, the Vishnu Guru, in fact, in management, he said at that time that 30 years from now, I quote him, 30 years from now, large universities shall be relics. 30 years from now, large universities shall be relics because there is a major disruption coming in. And this disruption he saw on the strength of the internet and the services of the kind that were being mounted, how it will disrupt education. That he said 30 years from now, which means roughly about 2028, 2029. We are in 2022. Way back in 2019 itself, we realized what a major disruption COVID-19 has caused. And therefore, we need to now, with I make a humble request through you to all those who are connected today, that we need to read NEP and implement it, not the way it is written, but in the light of the time in which we are today and the times in which we will go tomorrow. And therefore, the budgetary estimates as well as the entire budget preparation for financing the education of India today has to be, in my opinion, from a very different perspective. You must redesign your pathways for education today as well as for tomorrow. And that's how then only you would be able to transform education, which is the motto of the education policy, transforming education. What we need to transform from our brick and mortar universities, from our guru-led parampara to in a classroom where we want everybody to listen to us, nobody to question us. A guru is going on the stage as a teacher and he says that you have to take me seriously. And I did that when I was in IIT as a professor at IIT Delhi. People took me seriously. Students are very obedient. They would, of course, will take you seriously during those 45, 50 minutes. But after the class, they would say, well, you were talking nonsense. I could have talked all about it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, because all this is written. It's written in the textbook. Today it's written on the e-portals, and it's everybody really. Before coming here, I also looked at in great details about education budget, etc. Because you don't have to be told ABCD about how budget is prepared and what all that. Last year, when the budget was prepared, they made a great statement, and they said at that time that this budget is basically for transforming education. Okay, if that was so, then the layers of transformation would have been greatly identified. I went through the details. Everybody is desirous to see 6% actually of the national budget to be devoted to education, because education is a vehicle of transformation, as I said, of the society. It's a vehicle of transformation of the economy of the nation. It's a vehicle of transformation of the entire landscape. And in fact, I would not be wrong to say it's a vehicle for creating a new world in which we want to live, which will be a transparent world, which will be a technology enabled world, which will be a world where people will be compassionate, peaceful. They would understand the meaning of learning to live together in peace and harmony. They would be the protector of the built environment and natural environment. They would be the servants of God Almighty in true sense, ensuring that the world which they inherit and they leave, that world which they create is better than the world which they have inherited. It is this kind of transformation with which we need to go with tremendous amount of enthusiasm. When I joined teaching profession in 1969, my result was declared on 20th of July, the day when man had landed on the moon. I said, wow, what can science and engineering do to take a person to the moon? And that day my result declares, and I was declared as a gold medalist of engineering and technology faculty. So
Wow.
a great responsibility on my shoulder. My principal called me, I said, come and meet me tomorrow. And he made me lecturer with 2 advance increment without even making an application for the job. I said, this is the future. Maybe God Almighty want me to remain in education. This is my 52nd year in education. And I've seen how education has changed. I've seen how science and technology education has changed. I've seen, and I'm also aware what we need to do now to transform our current education system into a system which will make education 10 times, rather 100 or 1,000 times more relevant than it is today. Then the problem of employability will be solved. Problem of creation of new employment will be solved. You will be able to create millions of jobs for our countrymen. You would be able to meet the aspirations of 660 million youngsters below the age of 25 who are looking towards us in education, for providing them education that matters, education that is relevant, education that can make them better human beings to create and live in a world in which they have dreams to live. This world has to be very different than the world today. I do not want to live in a world where every year I get the headline that the air quality is touching 999 microgram per cubic meter. I don't want to live in this world. I want to live in the world where people of capabilities who pursue science and technology and who are part and parcel of policy making and implementation ensure that the air quality is what we call pranvayu, which should ensure that I am able to live along with my people here as well as around the world for a good 100 years. Jeevem Sarda Satam, Paschem Sarda Satam. I should be able to see without spectacles for 100 years. My ears should be able to listen to divine music up to 100 years. And for 100 years, I should utilize my mind and my body and my entire spirit for the service of humanity, for the service of Mother Nature, and service of God Almighty. That's what education is all about. Education is to give you capabilities along with that competence and character. These three C's. Without character, without integrity, without professional morality, compliance to work ethics, a man of knowledge would only become a Ravana. He would not be able to become Lord Rama. The only difference between Lord Rama and Ravana is that here you have competency and caliber and capability along with the integrity and work ethics, professional morality. That is Lord Rama, Maryada Purshottama, that's why we call him. Ravana, on the other hand, was a man of great capability. He knew all sciences in the world. He could even ensure that the time is not able to work on him. He was able to ensure death does not come near him. He was able to hang death upside down. But without character, without integrity, without that commitment to create the world where people should be happy, should be able to realize that they are here for a blissful life. Therefore, the whole meaning and purpose of education requires a major transformation, in my opinion. The budgetary estimates must be prepared to serve and nurture those layers of engagement in education which create the education for tomorrow and education that would transform India into what they call Atmanirbhar Bharat. And also, I find that everybody is saying we want to become Guru, 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 Vishnu Guru. I want to tell them you would become Vishnu Guru only when India becomes a heaven on earth. And India can only become heaven on earth when we pursue the cause of Janani Janbhuma Swargadapi Karyasi. These are not my wordings, these are the wordings of Lord Rama himself. When he was asked to remain in Sri Lanka and take care of the Sri Lanka as an emperor, he said, Janani Janbhuma Swargadapi Karyasi. I want to go back to my people and serve them because my first duty is there. So our first duty through education has to be in terms of creating advantage India, creating that India of our dream in which we all wish to live to, where air is pranavayu, where water is amrit, not like the polluted air, polluted rivers which we have and polluted water bodies. My heart was sinking the day when I found that at Varanasi, the fog and the blue color actually, rather the polluted water was coming to the place where people take their dip. My heart was sinking the day when Chhat was celebrated and Yamunaji, my ladies, with all reverence to sun god, were taking a dip into the most polluted water in the world. I don't want that to happen. I want to ensure all the scientific community of my country to ask themselves what they need to do, even if necessary, make prayers for hours and hours together. Ask God Almighty what kind of science they required to mop out all this pollution that we created because of our misuse of science and misuse of technology, and for creating a situation which I call totally madness, which is mutually assured destruction. COVID-19 has given us a wake-up call. Let the architects of education understand that education of tomorrow has to be relevant. It has to be relevant to the current needs of our society. It has to be relevant to solve the current pressing problems of the society. I do not want every 4 minutes an Indian to die on road. My education must be able to create a law-abiding society. My education should be able to create responsible citizenship. My technology should be able to give me that engagement and bliss necessary to regulate my traffic and implement it in a manner that the drivers are trained using technology first. Today, everybody can buy a great car and without even bothering about taking proper lessons, they start driving on the road, overtaking from the left, killing each other. I don't want to see this happening. I'm an old man now, people will call me, but I have to say this point blank, that we are not taking our education seriously, nor we are engaging ourselves in preparing the society in which we wish to live. We have to change all this, and the time to change is now. Otherwise, we will be asked by the future generations, what did you do as a vice chancellor for so long? What did you do as a professor of science and engineering? What did you do as a professor of policy making, and so on? They will question us. They will question our wisdom and will never pardon us for not taking the kind of initiative. Having said this, let me also come back to some nitty-gritties which are important. I know people like you have done a great job in transforming your e-Gurukul as something which is phenomenally active, and thousands of webinars and engagement is taking place. I congratulate you for this bold initiative. I also want to ensure that education understand that tomorrow's education would be learning to do. And therefore, it would not be just learning to learn. It used to be learning to know and learning to learn. When I was a student, I have to listen to my teachers, read my books 20 times, 100 times to memorize whatever is written. That education is no longer relevant today. What is important is what I want to do. Do I know everything that is required to innovate my thoughts, translate my ideas into innovative products, take them all the way to a working plan, all the way to commercialization? What do I need to learn? When the students of Delhi Technological Engineering, Delhi College of Engineering in 2006 wanted to design an unmanned aerial vehicle, we asked ourselves, what kind of UAV you want to design? We said we want to design the very best in the world. And we asked ourselves what that very best would be. Accordingly, my students learned much more than what my curriculum could actually provide. They established their direct linkages with the professors around the world, learned a lot about avionics, learned a lot about aeronautics, because I was not having aeronautics as a discipline, Delhi College of Engineering. Flight dynamics was not a discipline, Delhi College of Engineering. A whole lot of electronics and development, and because after all, you need to entire case. And when we prepared our UAV, we took it to America to participate in the international competition. Dr. Gulshan Sarma, I say this with all humility, our UAV was judged as the most innovative design in the whole world in 2006 because for the first time they realized that here are a group of highly inspired undergraduates who have learned a lot about things which are not existing currently in the curriculum. And they designed at that time a mother and a baby vehicle together, which will go into sky, do the surveillance. The mother keep hovering around while the child goes for surveillance in narrow lanes and does all this, and then they come back. It's such a great idea. I mean, you have to understand the meaning of learning by doing and creating more and more space. We can do it through e-education as well as through face-to-face education. But what it requires is collaborative learning, team learning, taking on board teachers who don't exist in the university or colleges, teaming them together with the best of the teachers you have inside, putting together your team in a manner that you are able to surpass the imagination of the whole world, and then learning that education. That's called engineering and technology education. When I became lecturer without making an application, my principal bestowed upon me such an honor, being a gold medalist. I asked myself what kind of education I need to provide. The first thing came in my mind, not the education which I have received, not the way I have received. I would innovate. I would change the way. When I was a final year student, they were giving me a big project. 30 of us were doing the same project. I said, this is not the way to do a project. Let's form small groups of 4, 5, 6 students and let them imagine to design and develop something which they would like to utilize, the society would like to utilize. I looked around and I changed, in fact, my project work. I changed my tutorials. Let the tutorials not be just unsolved problems from the foreign books. Let the tutorials be such that you are able to see the benefit of your design, development, and solving of these problems, connect them to the live things which exist. And this changed the whole lot. All those students today are very successful. They prayed for me. I'm also very successful. For after 52 years, I present to you as the Vice Chancellor of Amity University, Gurugram, having been the founder of Delhi Technological University as well as Rajiv Gandhi Technological. I'm not trying to say it myself, but I'm trying to say that the new education policy must focus on promoting learning to do. Now you belong to a skill sector and I love skill, but I know that skill cannot be taught through the universities. Skill need to be learned by learning by doing. So I would have spent all my money on skill through my sectorial skill councils to create what I call the skill towers. Skill towers around the country, 1,000 skill towers in India. Suppose they come up overnight, giving levels of skills, starting from the generic skills which are required for day-to-day work to the higher end skills of artificial intelligence and circular economy, and also skills of the kind of new material that do not exist, new technologies which do not exist, all kind of skills starting from the generic skill to design skill to the skills of by which you are able to innovate and design and develop something phenomenally different. Then India would have been a different India. Then the investment in skill would have been really, you would have trained thousands and thousands of new, young, inspired mind. Call it physical finishing school. I like the idea of finishing school. But for this, you require skill towers. You require skill parks. You do not require lectures on a skill in a skill university. I do not like that idea. I would have certainly liked to spend at least 75% of the total allocation in creating skill towers, both in government as well as in partnership with the industry. I want industry to come forward and understand that the advantage of a skilled manpower first goes to the corporate and industry, then to the government. And therefore, let them come forward and partner. What is the difficulty in my IT industry partnering with the skill towers of their own requirement? What prevents it from automotive industry to do it? What prevents from hospitality industry to do it? What prevents from food industry to do it? We have a whole lot of industries in India. Only thing is we need to remind them that you can't be looking at getting everything from the university without realizing that you have to work as partner in progress. Skill is one such area in which we could have done skill parks, 1,000 of them, skill towers. Here in Delhi, I would have liked 1 or 2 towers to come, in Noida 2 or 3 towers to come, because these are the areas where the towers will be magnificent. When the IT tower was created in Hyderabad, when I became Vice Chancellor for the first time in 98, 99, at that time, everybody went to Hyderabad to see the high-tech city. That was the tower, the circular tower, you call it Bipro Tower, I think, in those days. Now, you create such a tower for skill, the whole world will come to India and understand how skill. Our forefathers were giving education which was based on skills. And that's why, let me make a bold statement, there was nobody unemployed in ancient India. There was nobody unemployed. Everybody was engaged in blissful work from morning to evening, and everybody was capable of doing something good for himself, to the society, and to the nation. That's why India was a great country. That's why India's GDP was the highest in the world. That's why Indians never went begging to any country. And they created the highest levels of science and technology at that time, because for them education was primarily a vehicle by which you are able to make education relevant. The entire purpose of science for my ancient India was very different than the purpose of science and technology today. Today, the purpose of science and technology is to push the wheels of economy without bothering the kind of disparity it creates, the kind of tears it creates, the kind of unnecessary consumption it creates. It drives people mad to buy things which they should not. Why should I have 20 pairs of suits? Why should I have 20 pairs of shoes? My forefathers never bothered about more than one or two. That was mostly that maximum. Why not our education really train people to understand that the purpose of science and technology is to create a blissful society, to allow us to live a life of dignity and honor, with happiness, with blissful engagement, having capabilities of the kind that even God will be so mesmerized on our capability. He will bless us then to have a life full of bliss for 100 years. But we have made science and technology the slaves of the corporates and the industry. All the time we are only looking at that how the GDP must be multiplied by our efforts in science and technology. That is not to be the only purpose of science. The science has the primary purpose of science, the primary purpose of technology is to create the blissful engagement of people, so that there is no inequality of the kind that we create. And this has to be done with a consciousness to ensure that the nature, the mother nature feels proud of you, and you do not create the kind of tears in the eyes of mother nature which we have given currently. No question of having science and technology which will continue to pollute the world. No question of science and technology which will take you to moon but would not allow you to properly drive your car on the road. No purpose of science and technology where you say that people will be losing their jobs all the time. I can't be walking on the pathways here, jumping on my feet whole day. People like me who have knowledge and skills must be engaged blissfully throughout our lives. So I want to create millions of jobs on the strength of the new science and new technologies of the kind. I'm not against automation. I'm not against Industry 4.0, but let me be very frank. Industry 4.0 is not the only thing for which India must sell itself actually all the time. We have spent too much of time on Industry 4.0. While 4.0 is required in certain sectors, I need to ensure that I go rural with high-tech mind. I have to create that compulsion in my country and urge in my minds of my youngsters to go rural with high-tech mind and with scientific solution, so that I create millions of the jobs in rural India rather than pushing rural youth to come to Delhi and to mega cities and create great slums for them and then create all kind of tears on the society. I think tomorrow's India in which I wish to live, what I call new India, with the Honorable Prime Minister has also thought of. We need to ensure that we move mountains towards and creating jobs in rural India. And this cannot be done by rural people alone. We need to ensure that the graduates of high-profile universities with high-tech mind, they go rural and create your MSMEs in great numbers there, and ensure that the food tech and mind tech and life tech becomes a reality in those areas. Then the next tech will be life tech. That is what I've said, where the body tech, mind tech, soul tech, as well as in fact with the yoga tech and meditation tech, along with herbal tech, the food tech of the kind which will ensure no medicines are required to remain happy and healthy for 100 years. This is our forefathers. They never set up hospitals of the kind which we are setting up. Go to any hospital, it is as crowded as the railway station. My heart sinks. What kind of society we are creating? And this is something I think we need to really ask ourselves. We created whole of India. Diabetes had become a big problem here. Respiratory diseases are such that even a vice chancellor has to carry an inhaler in his pocket. I mean, there's a limit how long this should happen. This cannot be done. But children are having inhalers today in India. I mean, vice chancellors are having inhalers, which means our respiratory problem has been created because we spoiled the air. The pranavayu and amrit water, they were the medicines of soul, free of cost, provided by God Almighty. for a happy life of 100 years. We destroyed both the medicines of the soul, water as well as air. So I think tomorrow's science and tomorrow's technology, in my opinion, must take a great turnaround, and this need to be done fast, because you can't be debating and talking for years together. The time is running out. If we don't act and act fast, I tell you, the world tomorrow would be unlivable. And nobody want to live in a world where it is so unlivable that on one hand I may have highest GDP, but on the other hand the highest unhappiness. No, it cannot be allowed, should not be allowed. Every year I should say I will jump on not only innovation index, but also on happiness index. And this can only be done by creating a responsible citizenship where science and technology is invested for the purpose for which it should be, to create people of great mind, great inspiration, great enthusiasm, innovative mind, who are able to not only solve the current problems rapidly, but also create a bright green future for the vast humanity that resides in India. We are a 17% population of the world. Our contribution to GDP at the moment is around 3%. On against this, the China has 17% population, and their contribution to GDP is 16 to 17%. That's why that country is able to grow leaps and bounds. I do not know much about China, except that I visited them 2 or 3 times, once as a delegation of Vice Chancellor, and I tried to understand what developmental models they have taken. They have pushed their MSMEs deep into the rural area. They have transformed the rural areas into vibrant hubs of industrial activity alongside with ensuring agriculture. India need to do the same thing, in my opinion. I need to ensure that my agri-tech of the very high order become visible in the rural India, so that productivity of agriculture goes up. Utilization of water in agriculture, which it currently is a real problem because we are wasting so much of water, fresh water in agriculture, with mindlessly flooding the field of wheat, which is not required. We are giving free water for irrigation. People are wasting it. We need to bring sprinklers and new technologies by which we are able to do this. We need to even go back to basics and develop new seeds and ensure that the agri-tech of the kind highest order is provided. This requires highest level of science and technology to go rural. It also requires food technology to grow alongside with agriculture, so that I'm able to transform the agriculture produce into something very meaningful, useful, to create that nutrition value for my people, millions of them here in India and abroad. What could be the difficulty in ensuring that the food technology goes alongside with agriculture technology and deep into the area? What prevents me for setting up call centers and taking IT education and deep into rural India? Because IT education is one such education where self-learning of the highest order is possible. And that is why it's much easier for me to mount rural IT hubs, which will train my people to become really meaningful workers in the IT sector. All my call centers can be set up there, and I will be able to do a whole lot of job of IT from the rural India and would be able to create that. I want IT to go rural. I also want to ensure that the education budget must focus on, besides the skills and education, it should empower the universities and support the infrastructure in the government sector, university, and for the private sector. It must create that ease by which the partnership with the industry and corporate results into strengthening our research and development based on our university. Universities are not meant for classroom teaching alone. They are meant for creating new knowledge, pushing the frontiers of science and technology, translating science and technology into meaningful and innovative products, and taking it all the way to patenting and creating IPR, and also strengthening that layer of the economy. And that's why we need to now look at, in a very different way, the investment in research which we make today. I don't want investment in research merely to take pride in saying that I published it or I published that at high impact factor. That is the past. Today, every penny of money which I spend on R&D in terms of education budget, it needs to be transformed into the tangible benefit, development of innovative technologies, innovative products by which I'm able to create employment and solve the current problem which I have in very many sectors. My productivity should go up. My innovative products must be able to transform my current level of business into new businesses and new enterprises. Let India be seen as a major hub of innovation. When in Hyderabad they have set up the tea hub, I tell you, we need to set up tea hubs in all states of the country. What is the difficulty? Let the government of India seed every state to create tea hub kind of facility what they created in Hyderabad. You and in the university you create I hubs. So you support your research and development in a manner that it results into T hubs and I hubs. But also I want research and development to be pursued with tremendous amount of seriousness. I do not want to buy expensive equipment and use it only for cultivating research or new knowledge. I want to ensure that my research and development investment becomes in true sense R&D come test center. R&D come test center so that my instruments are utilized 24 by 7, not only for teaching and research, not only by my own scholars, but also by the industries around. India is very poor, I can say this loudly, in terms of testing infrastructure. And that's why we are getting all kind of adulteration in food and all kind of poor quality products which are being sold in the market and produced. I need to strengthen the test what you call the test center infrastructure. And the best way is to go about setting up research and development come test centers in the university, in the private sector, in the public and private partnership sector. Let hundreds of them come in. So this is what I want to do at the university level. I also want to ensure that the advantage technology is facilitated in all universities. Let them understand the meaning of taking teachers on board who do not exist in their university. Let them understand the meaning of seamless classrooms and connected classrooms so that a good teacher at one university is able to teach at several universities within the country and abroad. And same must be the case with teachers from different universities. I want to facilitate that kind of environment, but a lot of infrastructure, I call it knowledge infrastructure. I call it infrastructure where I need to strengthen connectivity. India had to spend a lot of money on connectivity. Unfortunately, I must say, with all humanity, that this is where the investment has been the poorest. We are not investing on connectivity with all seriousness with which we need to serve the cause of education tomorrow. How could India be the e-education hub of the world without our investment in connectivity? IT industry grew in this country primarily because connectivity was strengthened. If there was no connectivity, our IT industry would have never really gone up. We did a good job there. We have to do the same job in education also by strengthening connectivity and knowledge infrastructure in all our universities. Lastly, let me also say that we must think of teachers and think of those who are engaged in education. My heart sinks when they are taxed so badly and they are treated like workers anywhere else. Why should the new the budget which we roll out in a couple of days for 2022, let it pay greater attention to the teachers, to the researchers, to the scientists and technologists who are working day out and day in our universities, making Mother India proud. Let you bring in tax exemptions, very different for those engaged in research and development. I mean, we are charging GST. It's too much for education services. I would not like any GST to be charged from education services. I would like education to be treated as an investment for creating a bright future for my country. I also want to see that I support my students in large number of research fellowships, postdoctoral fellowships. I should ensure that every bright mind in this country looks towards my university rather than looking abroad for going there and then coming back in tears after 3, maybe 10, 15 years seeking job employment in India. Why not my universities in India create postdoctoral fellowships funded from partly support coming from the government and part of the support coming from the industry, part of the support should be coming from philanthropy. Philanthropy is sitting on a back seat at the moment in India. I want to facilitate philanthropy to walk into education and support education so that I'm not able to burden the parents and the bright minds. I want to ensure that I'm able to provide them the highest quality of education without charging hefty fees in my university. And I want to ensure this in certain areas. I even want to set up universities in India where no fees is charged. Let the medical education, if you can support, create really universities, medical universities where no fees will be charged. Only tested condition would be that Lord, those who are being given this privilege of education without payment of fees should become in true sense, take the privilege of medical science, medical capability as privilege to serve and privilege to serve the humanity rather than to ensure their ATM is completely emptied. When I ask youngsters studying in medical science, they say that they want to be trillion dollar rich. I said, why? They said, this is a sector which will make me rich. My heart sinks. I don't want that to happen. I want people to come to engineering and technology and science with a clear understanding that it's a great privilege to serve and great privilege to excel and earn a great dignity and honor from all quarters throughout the world. Today, Einstein is respected irrespective of nationality for the esteem which he really cultivated. So the privilege to serve and privilege to excel is so high in science, technology, engineering, and medical that we need to really look at this investment in education from a very different angle. I want philanthropy to walk in. I want government to really do the job. Let me finish by also saying that despite the fact that I've been in higher education for a very long time, I've been the chairman of Kendriya Vidyalaya also, Sector 25, Rohini for many years, and I have great pleasure in supporting and nurturing Kendriya Vidyalaya development. People like me would like my school education to ensure that thousands more Kendriya Vidyalayas are set up in my country because they are very successful, their quality is good, and they have prepared people of merit as well as people of character. I also want thousands of Navodaya Vidyalaya to be set up because this is again a success story. I need to capitalize on the success which I have already made. And therefore, I think we must invest in success, multiply it manifold. So thousands of Kendriya Vidyalaya, new Kendriya Vidyalaya, thousands of Navodaya Vidyalaya, thousands of Sainik school. What is the difficulty? These are the best ones. We have experimented, they are time tested, their quality is good, the environment is good, they create patriotic fervor, and therefore the Kendriya Vidyalaya, Navodaya Vidyalaya, and Sainik schools, thousands and thousands. That is 666 million Indians, youngsters, they are looking for good school education, good quality higher education. I think my budget has to really meet their aspiration. Then only I would be able to say that I'm transforming India, or I'm transforming higher education, or transforming education. Then only the justice will be done to Atmanirbhar Bharat. Then only the justice would be done to take India to the pedestal where the whole world will take us seriously, will acknowledge us also as Vishwa Guru. देखिए गुरु जी को ये कहना नहीं पड़ता कि मैं गुरु हूँ, दुनिया कहे कि वो हमारे गुरु हैं, तब उस गुरु महाराज की कोई मतलब होता है. तो इंडिया हैज टू राइज to become a shining star, the brightest star of the East, as it was in some days, once again, so that the whole world takes us seriously for the education which we provide, for the research which we carry out, for the innovations which we meet, for the world we create, and for the kind of society in which we live in honor and dignity. I don't want dirty drains to be pushing all the dirt into Yamuna and my great rivers. I want to, scientists of today ask overnight, what can be done to treat wastewater and utilize this wastewater after treatment. In my university, I take immense pride in Amity University, Gurugram, where every single drop of wastewater is treated, it is recycled and reused. Even the house of the vice chancellor receives treated wastewater in the flushes. Every single washroom in the administrative block, academic block, hostels, we are using the retreated water. But the treatment of water is of that level that no pathogens could enter my house, no pathogens can enter in any washroom. So I need to understand the importance of the circular economy, the call which has been given. I want to see an India where efforts of education result in strengthening the call for circular economy so that we are able to treat the waste, utilize it, recycle it, even remanufacturing should become a reality. When I guided a PhD on remanufacturing in Delhi Technological University, people were asking me, recycle, reuse is fine, what is remanufacturing? And I was telling them that look at what the IT industry is doing, look at what the television industry is doing. They are understanding the value and worth of remanufacturing. You do not know why a new television costs you less than the old television, while it should have been at least 10 times more expensive because of new technology. They weren't. So when I guided his PhD on re-engineering along with Professor S.K. Garg, my very dear friend, former Pro-Vice Chancellor of Delhi Technological University, we both grew together in areas of manufacturing and flexibility and all that, the supply chain management, etc. We found that tremendous gains are there. India could become a Vishwaguru in these areas. India cannot become Vishwaguru in all areas, but it can become Vishwaguru in the areas of sustainable science, sustainable engineering, sustainable technology, circular economy. India can take a great lead, in my opinion, and it can score the highest marks. But as I said, education has to be treated as a vehicle of transformation, both of the economy as well as of the society and people. I do not want an educated man to engage into anything where knowledge is misused. I mean, tremendous amount of fear at the moment is there for data theft, for loss of piracy, loss of security, IT security, and so on. And people who are engaged, they are all educated. Why should I really create an education system which ends up by creating people who could enter into such crooked actually exercise? No. I think my education has to restate the meaning and purpose of education and integrate ethics and values as well as professional morality alongside with capabilities and competence which I create through knowledge as well as through research. I think I have talked a lot about everything, but future of jobs and factories of tomorrow must be in focus. Factories of tomorrow will be set up where you have the manpower of the kind which the world requires. If India want to be a real manufacturing hub and an industry hub of the whole world, if it want to attract the best of the industry to relocate from China, from Taiwan and other areas, then I think it need to create the manpower of the kind that is required for the new world in which we want to live. The factory of tomorrow will be established where you have the manpower of the highest quality devoted to the service of industry and corporate, which will create a big world. But with my focus on inclusive and sustainable development, which Honorable Prime Minister has echoed several times, I think we need to re-examine how best we can go about creating a future economy for India, where we go not only to 5 trillion, but to 10 trillion as fast as possible. I would even make it 20 or 50 trillion in my life itself, provided we also ensure that the disparity of the kind which we have created in economy does not really continue. My heart sinks when 1% population of my country is holding 43% wealth, while the remaining 50%, the bottom 50%, is holding only 2.9%, Dr. Gulshan. But when I was recently in America, I checked out the figures in America also. There again, I was mesmerized because top 1%, they are also as strong as India, but their bottom 50% are lower than the India. This is something. That is 1.9% there, bottom 50%. Here it is 2.8%. But 50% surviving on 2.8% for how long, my friend? How long we would be able to thank God Almighty for the life which has been given to us as a precious gift, unless we are creating a level play field in India where our economic strength, economic benefits are such that everybody is able to really enjoy a blissful engagement and blissful life. This can only be done by multiplying the jobs in millions, creating new engagement, layers of engagement, creating, in fact, science and technology and engineering of the kind that is required to create that world. I submit to God Almighty that the Honorable Minister of Finance is listening to me. She must really ensure that she also keeps up the promise. 6% of the GDP was a promise given to me when I was in IIT. It continues as a promise when I was in Delhi College of Engineering and DTU. It continues even at Amity University. But my last year budget was only 3.5% of the GDP.
With the new education policy, also 6%.
The education policy restated 6%. So there will be more money for education, but let this money be wisely spent in creating skill towers, skill parks, in creating R&D cum test centers, in creating innovation centers, in creating T-hubs and I-hubs in universities, in supporting university research that takes the idea to innovative product to commercialization, I to IPC, I call it. Let this money be utilized for setting up the patent facilitating cells in my universities and colleges so that we are able to protect the property rights for our country. Otherwise, tomorrow's world, we will be really miserable if we find that patenting is a new phenomenon in India. And I take a lot of pride that in Amity University, we are pursuing the agenda of integrated science and innovation-led educations. So our university is called Research and Innovation-Driven University. That's why almost 1,500 plus patents are filed by Amity University. My own university, even during the pandemic time, I can smile that 178 patents have been filed, and maybe about 123 of them have been published also. So we are focusing on high quality patents in areas that matter for the country, also pushing commercialization of patent as a strategy, as a part and parcel of our university objective. We have set up directorate of outcome in our university. We have set up the directorate by which we are ensuring that every single penny in research which we invest must be translated into IPR for the country, and it must be pursued all the way to innovative product development and commercialization. I think it can be done. And we are also at the same time, as I said, practicing highest levels of green practices within the campus, so that the student community grows in a campus where green practices become their way of life, so that when they go back to society and work in the industry, they will echo the cause of sustainability and sustainable sciences much more. Our campus is certified as a platinum green campus by US Green Building Council. This was the first university in India to achieve that. I'm talking of Amity University, Haryana. And this could not have been possible without our conscious concern and investment and engagement in practicing green technologies, not only for wastewater, but also green energy technologies, green management, and also green e-governance, and also ensuring that we are looking at sustainability from the finer points of our activities in all corners of our university. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I think I have delivered a lecture almost like a guru, which I should not have done, but I thought some of these points need to be echoed as loudly as possible, at least from the Vice Chancellor, who had the privilege of heading AIU, which was headed by no one less than Dr. Radhakrishnan himself, when he was the Vice Chancellor of Banaras Hindu University. Dr. Radhakrishnan, very many people may not know, was also founder Vice Chancellor of Andhra University. And he was Vice Chancellor of Banaras Hindu University. And during that time, he was the President of Association of Indian Universities. I rose to that level, therefore I have to talk loudly and clearly. Dr. Radhakrishnan Commission on Education has laid down the pathways for growth of India to great esteem globally. And we need to go back to basics and learn from these great education masters and from their wisdom, and integrate this into our NEP 2020. Translate NEP 2020 in a new format now, because after COVID, we need to look at the purpose of education, purpose of science, purpose of technology from a very different perspective. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful, wonderful. You have covered almost all the aspects which I wanted to take on in the form of the questions at the end, but you have taken care of all of them. Still, if you would be kind enough to permit me, I have got one point which I want to share with you, sir. World over, the population is aging. There are quite a bit of countries where the people in the higher bracket are there. Children are not being born further. They are not adding population to themselves. And India, very rightly, you mentioned 660 million when the people we have to take care of less than 24 years of age. How do you look at the scenario if we develop educators, teachers, trainers, master trainers, counselors, wellness experts, yoga experts, and different verticals of education, and they moving abroad and taking on those positions where there is going to be a vacuum? How do you look at that scenario?
Very good question. Really, the answer, or rather solution, has to be innovative, not the way we used to think earlier. Earlier, we used to think I need to train teachers, give them the B.Ed or M.Ed degree, tell them how to teach and all that. All that has now become redundant, really speaking, if you ask me. Today, everybody could be a teacher. When I was in Delhi College of Engineering, I asked my teachers to make students as teachers in the classroom. I go to a class, and rather than delivering my sermon, I pick up the best of the student of the class and I ask him to you provide a starter for today's chapter. So the students can also be taken on board. And there are a lot of innovative minds. My own grandchildren tells me that one of the strategy which American universities utilize, that anyone who has scored 10 out of 10 or 100 out of 100 in a particular subject, there may be maybe 1% of the whole class. They are the ones who are necessarily asked to engage themselves for teaching next year into the same class in whatever way possible. They give them fellowship, they give them what you call teaching assistantship and so on. Idea is let the best of the brains be connected to the student community. We are not doing it in India, my friend. We are thinking that teaching's job is only for teachers. That's not correct. Secondly, the teaching today is not learning from the book, as I said. Much of this is self-learning. And the capability to self-learn is much more in the younger generation compared to the people like me. And therefore, we have to acknowledge that. So we have to create a learning environment where much of the teaching can be transferred to self-learning, group learning, team learning. And there are a lot of good quality teachers, in my opinion, who are available in the industry, in the R&D organizations, in the society also. There are thousands of retired professors from IITs, NITs, and several other high-profile universities, they were people of great merit in their own age. Why not connect them also? But they will only be looking for a small token honorarium, and they will drive pleasure in connecting to the university. But we need to facilitate that through our budget and put a bigger budget for utilizing the brains which are otherwise sitting at home and listening to me. They could be the one great teachers. Some, I'm not saying they will teach all the way, but bring them in. If I have to deliver 40 lectures in a subject, why not 10 lectures should be from people of high wisdom who have superannuated from great university or great science laboratories of my nation. There are a whole lot of CSIR laboratories, a whole lot of DRDO laboratories, a whole lot of labs and R&D organizations, industry also, BHEL, HAL, even from the IT industry. A lot of people sitting at home. NIC, for example, National Informatics Center. They're the people of great knowledge. Involve them and ask them to connect to the world of education. You will solve the problem of teachers immediately. And for a long term, certainly, as I said, my principal spotted in me a great teacher, and he gave me a job without even application. Can you empower vice chancellor to do that? Today, you will hang them upside down if they offer a job to someone without application, without scrutiny, without interviews, without a proper interview board putting their marks, etc. When I was, I tell you, when I joined IIT Delhi never asked me to apply. They offered me the job while I was in Birmingham. And not only one IIT, many IITs, including National Aeronautics Laboratory. I had a job offer signed by no one less than Dr. Satish Dhawan, who was the guru of Dr. Abdul Kalam, because they were empowered in those days to spot the talent and bring the best of the talent to teaching or research profession. Are we doing that today? Our IIT directors were empowered once upon a time. Today, we are pulling them in all directions, asking them to go through a system. And this is not the way best of the talented. In America, they attract you even from an enemy country. If you are the person of merit, even if you are from an enemy country, they will like you to come to their university because your wisdom, your talent is for the humanity at large. And they assume that the man of knowledge later will be ever bored. And therefore, I think India needs to now understand how to create millions of new teachers who could be very easily created within the country as well as attracted from abroad. Currently, Government of India has a very good scheme called Re-Entry Fellowship Scheme. I need to put more money on this scheme. And through this scheme, those who have worked in research abroad after PhD for 10 years, 15 years, they are facilitated to come to India and join as Ramanuja Swami Fellow, Ramanujam Fellow. Why not even Dr. Radhakrishnan Fellowship? Why not tomorrow Homi Bhabha Fellowship? Why not tomorrow Vikram Sarabhai Fellowship? Why not tomorrow even Prime Minister Fellowship? So give this facility for the talent, both coming from abroad as well as those who are within the country. Create thousands of postdoctoral fellowships rather than pushing our good quality PhD scholars to go abroad for jobs. Indian universities, surprisingly, for the last 70 years, 75 years of independence, never thought of postdoctoral fellowships. I took this matter to the new education policy, also to the government. I asked for 1,000 PDFs. I was very happy that the NEP has mentioned 500 PDFs. But 500 PDF is a peanut for a country where you have 1,000 universities. So it will mean half a fellowship in each on an average. You need today 10,000 PDFs in India, if you really ask me, in order to push the layers of science and scientific engagement by the brightest ones, years of science to unknown and unimaginable territory. So we need to invest our money in education today far more wisely, from school level to strengthening knowledge infrastructure, connectivity, putting more money for PhD fellowship, postdoctoral fellowships, creating knowledge centers, creating centers of research and test houses together. Certain labs need to be conceived, and also skill towers and skill parks. If we do all this, I tell you, overnight India can be transformed into the Vishwa Guru. The whole world will come to learn from India. The experiment which we will carry out to transform education, making it more relevant and making it so good that it will be visible from the great distances, from any country in the world, they will look towards India with great respect. Indians would earn that pride, and Mother India would then once again be very proud of Indians. But we need to create advantage India, as I said, by the effort which we invest. Janani, Janbhuma, Swargadapi Gariyasi must be in the forefront. Of course, Vasudev Kutumbakam must be our guiding philosophy, and we must ensure that celebration of diversity, respect to diversity, is our hallmark of our culture. And our cultural ethos cannot be sacrificed. They are non-negotiable. Satyamev Jayate Namritam is non-negotiable. Purity of mind is non-negotiable. Purity of mind is non-negotiable because I do not want to end up by giving education to those whose mind is so damn polluted that they only utilize my knowledge only for minting money and to say that they want to become $1 trillion rich. That's not the purpose of education. Higher you go in education, more devoted you should be to serve your country, to serve the society with unconditional commitment, without any selfish motive. Then only karmanyavadi karaste ma phaleshu kadachana. That is what the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna has said, would have a meaning. It would have no meaning if we are able to ensure that education is only for career pursuit, to become rich, to become powerful, to occupy high chairs of authority. No, we have to be real humble servants of the society. That's the purpose of education. And we need to transform our education to this kind of blissful thinking, in my opinion, and then invest as much money as possible. And let us invest 6%, but invest it wisely.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. So, ladies and gentlemen, world over, this is before the budget, which is going to be presented on first morning. And this is Honorable Professor P.B. Sharma ji, the Vice Chancellor for the Amity University, Gurugram. We had a wonderful input from him, and something very key words he has given to us on the skill towers and the skill parks. And also when he told about self-learning, team learning, we will also come on to co-learning. There are quite a bit of it which we will take on all together.
R&D and test houses, R&D and test houses.
Yes, R&D and test houses also.
Believe it or not,
yes.
Our unhappiness is largely because we are not testing the quality of the products and services which we offer.
Yes. So what we will do that on first morning, we will have the budget which will be coming to India. Our focus, our chamber at present is focusing on education, educators, youth, skills, and along with that, services exports, because we got to have education as a focus. First evening, that is 1st of February evening, we'll have a very special deliberation panel discussion where we get 4 to 5 eminent personalities, and I would request Professor P.B. Sharma ji also to join us after the budget so that we can take the journey forward. What is being announced in the budget? What is the take on further? And how do we move on? So first evening, second evening, third evening, fourth evening, education, 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 skills, 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 educators, youth, all of us together, we got to move on, and पुनः हमको वो जगह पर जाना है जहां से हम वापस
making education relevant. Making education relevant. We have to shout this hundreds of times, morning to evening, like Gayatri Mantra.
Yes.
Making education relevant.
Thank you very much. Thank you. आपका बहुत-बहुत आभार. And world over, the people, those who have joined us, it's a green morning, it's a green afternoon, it's a green evening. Great regards to everybody world over. Namaskar ji. Namaskar.
Thank you so much. Namaskar. Such a great privilege and honor it was to be with you. For
Jai
almost
Hind.